The Technical University of Munich in 2010 built slides 4 stories high to help their students get to class quickly instead of them having to take the stairs. In Australia, there are trees that grow several different types of fruits, known as fruit salad trees. Nintendo has banked so much money that they could run a deficit of $250 million every year and still survive until 2052. The most expensive thing ever created is the International Space Station, at a cost of $150 billion and rising as new sections are added. The typical American spends $1,200 on fast food every year. There are 2.32 billion monthly active users on Facebook as of 31st December, 2018. The reason birds fly in a V formation is to save energy due to wind resistance. The birds take turns being in the front and fall to the back when they're tired. In 1983, a 61-year-old potato farmer named Cliff Young, who was not an athlete, won the 544-mile 875 km Sydney to Melbourne Ultra Marathon, simply because he ran while the other runners slept. The first ever modern toilet was created by Thomas Crapper, hence the phrase to take a crap. There is a flower called the chocolate cosmos that smells like chocolate but isn't edible. Even though the Eiffel Tower is stable on its 4 legs, it is known to move. The 900-foot 320-meter structure can sway if the wind is strong enough, or expand 7 inches if the sun is hot enough. Switzerland has enough nuclear shelters to accommodate 114% of its population. It's a legal requirement for the Swiss to have a protected place that can be reached quickly from their place of residence. Cats can't taste sweet food. A woman from Michigan named Barbara Soper gave birth on 888-999 and 10-10-10, the odds of which are 50 million to 1. Jim Cummings, the voice of Winnie the Pooh, would call up children's hospitals and talk to them in his Winnie voice to make them feel better. Black tomatoes can be grown without any genetic engineering. They are full of beneficial anthocyanins which are believed to help with obesity, cancer, and diabetes. Watson, IBM's artificially intelligent computer, learned how to swear from the Urban Dictionary. Because of that, it began talking sassy, so scientists had to remove the entire Urban Dictionary database from its memory. Barcode scanners actually read the spaces between the black bars, not the black bars themselves. The Pallas's cat is the oldest living species of modern cat that first appeared 12 million years ago. McDonald's has more than 37,000 stores around the world, making it the largest fast food chain globally. Country singer Dolly Parton once anonymously entered a Dolly Parton lookalike contest and lost to a drag queen. Elephants are constantly tiptoeing around. This is because the back of their foot has no bone and is all fat. Polar bears' hair is actually clear, and it's the light they reflect that makes them appear to look white. Around 350 to 420 million years ago, before trees were common, the Earth was covered in giant mushroom stalks. The chances of an American being killed by lightning is the same chance a person in Japan has being shot and killed by a gun. Ninjas didn't actually wear black. According to the ninja museums in Japan, the best color to wear during the nighttime for ninjas was actually dark navy blue. There are over 500 different ways to cook potatoes. In fact, a recipe book on it was put together by former Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev's wife and was gifted to Britain. It now sits in the British Foreign Office. The world's tallest man, Bao Zishan, used his long arms, reaching 1.06 meters, to remove plastic from the stomachs of 2 dolphins, which ultimately saved their lives after trainers tried numerous other methods. You can't usually smell your own house or perfume because of the survival instinct called olfactory adaptation. The brain is always looking for new, unusual, or changing smells as a sign of possible danger. So, it ignores smells that it has become familiar with. In 2009, archaeologists discovered the fossils of a primitive species of crocodiles that actually galloped. They lived 100 million years ago, walked with the dinosaurs, and sometimes even ate them. The Chinese giant salamander is the world's largest living amphibian and can grow up to 6 feet 1.8 meters long and can weigh as much as 110 pounds 50 kg. The band Blink-182 incorporated under the name Pennywise Poo Poo Butt, Inc., so that their accountants, managers, and attorneys would have to say that when doing business. In 1898, Bayer introduced diacetylmorphine, marketed as a cure for morphine addiction and cough suppressant. Today that drug is better known by the name heroin. Potatoes have almost all the nutrients that humans need to survive. To prove this, the executive director from the Washington State Potato Commission, ate nothing but potatoes for 60 days and was just fine. A Japanese gymnast named Shun Fujimoto once broke his knee at the Olympics in 1976, but didn't tell anybody and performed miraculously despite his injury, even winning his team a gold medal. There is a dog breed called Basenji that doesn't have the ability to bark. It can produce a yodeling howl sound though. It's a small to medium-sized, square-shaped animal that is believed to be bred intentionally without the ability to bark. Due to human efforts, the ozone layer will recover to 1980 levels by 2050 and will be fully repaired by 2070. The eastern part of Laos was so heavily bombed during the Vietnam War that most people can supplement their income by collecting scrap metal 40 years later, and some completely rely on it. Motion sickness occurs due to confusion between perceived movement and actual movement. The brain's conclusion is that one of the senses is hallucinating due to poison ingestion, and thus the brain induces vomiting to clear the supposed toxin. In 2001, the island country of Niue issued several Pokemon coins and is still the only country in the world that uses images of Pokemon on their currency. Elijah Wood created his Lord of the Rings Frodo edition tape in his backyard with a homemade Hobbit costume. In 2012, mathematician Vi Hart sent an open letter to Nickelodeon proving SpongeBob's pineapple was geometrically impossible. Pineapple designer Kenny Pittenger then responded on his blog by posting a new mathematically correct design. This new design is currently being used on the show. The bottle of Heinz tomato ketchup specifically mentions tomato in the name because when it was introduced, ketchup of varieties other than tomatoes was common. Christopher Columbus, on the way to the New World, was stranded in Jamaica in 1503 AD. Knowing that he was wearing out his welcome with the natives and that a lunar eclipse was near, Columbus warned the natives that the moon would vanish if they did not continue to feed him and his sailors. After hitting his head in the shallow end of a swimming pool, a man named Derek Amato from Colorado woke with a condition known as acquired musical savant syndrome. He then went on to become a great pianist without ever learning to play. Some lizards, in which the tail is a major storage organ for accumulating reserves, will return to a drop tail after the threat has passed, and will eat it to recover part of the sacrifice supplies. KGB defector Anatoly Golitsyn claimed in 1984 that USSR would intentionally collapse in order to lull the West into complacency. The word oxymoron is actually an oxymoron, oxy meaning sharp and moron meaning dull. There's a small sculpture on the moon named Fallen Astronaut made by Belgian artist Paul van Hooijdonk and placed by the crew of Apollo 15 in 1971. It is the only sculpture on the moon, yet it remains relatively unknown. German scientist Gerhard Domack developed the antibacterial agent Prontosol, a sulfonamide. He used this agent to treat his own daughter, preventing her from an arm amputation. He won the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 1939. Noah Webster, the founder of Merriam-Webster, learned 26 languages in order to evaluate the etymology of words. The cortex gets its name from the Latin word for bark of a tree. In 1891, Wilhelm von Waldier coined the term neuron. A textbook on phrenology, the science correlating bumps on the skull with personality traits, sold over 100,000 copies in 1827. The pupil in the eye of the giant cuttlefish, a squid-like animal, is rectangular.